Welcome into the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. It's a Wednesday, and that means one thing. It's time now for Supernatural News. And yes, we have some of your Parashares today, so we're going to do that as well. With that, I need a co-hostess. And Jessica Freeberg's on the road today. She's actually promoting the 2 new books with her co-authors. So I figured, and yes, you heard the words co-hostess. I figured, well, by gosh, we have another co-hostess. So let's bring her in now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. And she's playing injured today, so we're going to take it easy on her. Ms. Mallie Fox. Hi, Mallie. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you.
Ooh, darling.
I know.
We're asking harsh duty of you today, and I apologize for that. I know you're not feeling all that well, so we'll take it easy on you today. I promise.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. I will ask you. We've had Michigan Paracon since you've been on the air last. How did it go for you?
You know what? It went very well. It was so nice to see everybody.
Yeah.
And it was, listeners and also just, friends and stuff. So it was very nice. It was a nice getaway. Did the extended version. So I was there, I think, from like Tuesday morning to Sunday evening. So it was nice.
Boy, you did do the extended version.
Yeah, kind of played tourists and just relax. Because usually when we go, it's balls to the walls. Mm-hmm. So because we appear on the same day that we open up the room. So this time it was just kind of nice to kind of ease into it.
Yeah. I got in on Wednesday. I was a little under the weather myself, so I kind of stayed to myself for a bit. And then I popped my head up on Thursday. But it was a good time this year. It really was.
Yeah, it was. And you know what? You'd be very proud of me because usually I'm in bed by like midnight. Mm-hmm. And I think I was closing the bar every single night I was there.
Good for you. See?
I know. Well, I was thinking, last hurrah and just kind of, just catching up with people I haven't seen for a while that they were coming because it was going to be the last one. So it was nice.
I got to hang out with a new friend. I got to hang out with Jeff Ignatowski, who's been on the show.
Okay.
And he came on actually, it's probably about a month and a half before Michigan Paracon, and he's got the book Beyond the Headlines, which is a true crime book. And he had told me, he said, I'm going to be at Michigan Paracon too. I said, really? He said, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, look forward to seeing you there. And actually, when we had done the interview here on True Crime Tuesday, I didn't tell people this at the time because it was kind of a personal detail, but people were like, Tim, his audio isn't that great. The reason it wasn't that great, he was doing it from a hospital bathroom.
Oh, no.
Well, no, it's kind of a good thing and kind of a cool thing. And I feel like I can share it now because I think he shared it with others. His wife was a surrogate.
Oh.
And she was actually in contractions at the time. And I didn't want to share it with the audience because we didn't know whether she was going to be delivering that day or not. Turns out that when we were recording, she didn't. She was close, but not quite there. They released her 15 minutes before the interview was over. So we had to wrap up the interview. They had to leave the hospital. Turns out 3 hours later, she went back into labor. They went back to the hospital and she had the baby, and then they gave it to the couple that was expected.
Right. Oh, that's so nice to be a surrogate.
Yeah. So I thought that was an amazing story. And so Jeff and I have kept touch. And so when we got together at Michigan Paracon, it was really cool. We got to hang out throughout the weekend, and it was fun. Yeah.
Hey,
really
did you have that? Remember when I told you, I think it was before we actually had our booths, but I went to that metaphysical store downtown, Sault Ste. Marie.
Yes.
And the lady that owned it was like, oh, yeah, I sit next to Tim Dennis with Darkness Radio.
Her name's Michelle.
I sat next to him last time. Yep. Yeah. Yep. And then I was wondering, did you sit next to her this time as well?
Okay, so with Michelle, and I'm trying to remember what the name of her store is, which is...
It's like the only one there.
Yes.
It's the only metaphysical store in Sault Ste. Marie.
That's right. If you find a metaphysical shop in Sault Ste. Marie, go say hi to Michelle, who's the owner. She's absolutely amazing. She's a wonderful lady.
Very knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable, yes. Knows her stuff. And the nicest woman ever. She really is. There was a podcast that separated us this year. So we weren't right next to each other, but we were giving each other crap the entire weekend because we weren't sitting next to each other.
Right.
But at one point, she throws a penny at me and goes, "Penny for your thoughts." And so we were just kind of trying to say we were giving the podcast between us crap because we're like, hey, we're trying to talk to each other over here. Yeah. So yeah, and I'm trying to remember. It was the podcast was from Canada, and I know him, and I feel bad. I know him. I know his name, but it's one of those things where you you kind of blank it out. But he was doing the. I don't know what to call this move. It's not bad for him to do the interviews. It's kind of nice to do the interviews at Paracon, but it's one of those things where you're not going to get a great interview at Paracon,
Yeah.
You're not going to sit down and do an in-depth interview at Paracon. It's going to be very surface, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of the, hey, how are you enjoying the Paracon type deal? And you get them for 15 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, he's bringing in people back and forth and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, if you book them for an hour, you can get a hell of an interview.
Exactly.
So, but good on him. He got, different celebs on his podcast and whatnot. So that's nice. But it's just kind of, so I just kind of sat there and said hi to people and talked to them and peddled my wares and gave them a shell crap. And right down from me was Ronnie LeBlanc. So I talked to Ronnie for a while and I had a good time. I was just talking to different people and just, and then the Youpers guys, they were over in the corner. So, giving them crap too. So it was a good time. I just enjoy talking to people when I'm at my table and getting to know them,
It's a good group of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I was sad at the end of the weekend because I look forward to that week in the summer, at the end of summer, where it's, you get to basically get in touch and get back in touch with people. So it's, I don't know. It kind of feels a little empty now.
Aww.
Yeah. I mean, what am I going to do? Go to the state fair and smell asses while I'm riding around on my scooter? I mean, that doesn't seem as appealing, I mean, I hate to put it that way. It's kind of vulgar.
Right. But you're at that level.
You are. I mean, you don't really want to ride around and eat when you're at ass level in a scooter. You just don't. So.
Did you go to the state fair?
I didn't this year. Yeah. It was just, by the time I got home and thought about it, it was hot. I mean, it was unusually hot.
Yeah.
And there was nothing this year that really, I mean, all the bands that I wanted to see were basically gone, Okay. There was nobody I really wanted to go see. And then on top of that, I thought, do I really want to fight everything for food that I could probably go out and eat?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, you're right there.
Yeah. So I just, and they haven't made the fair special anymore. It used to be, it was 10 days out of the year where it was food that if it was, novelty food you wanted to go eat, you could go do that. Now they have a thing where they do a little sampling in the spring and in the fall. So I'm like, it's not special anymore. So
right. Well, that's a shame.
Yeah. And they kind of did that during the COVID deal. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
COVID just ruined everything.
Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of felt like I could skip it this year and I could be okay. So
yeah. Well, I used to have fun when we go and we'd be live at the fair.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I
used to have some fun, as well as Dave. But I mean, there'd be some times where it was just you and me.
Yeah, yeah.
Goofing around.
The weather forecast thing was funny. Yeah.
People are walking like it's normal, but you're acting like it's a typhoon.
Just to explain to people what we were doing, I put on a poncho and I had a microphone and I was walking out there acting like there's tornadoes going on and torrential rains, and it was a sunny day outside. So, and I was trying to interview people about the big storm.
Was it Macklemore was playing like, and that he was live because we were next to the stadium.
Yes.
So people were walking by looking at you.
Yes. Yeah. Macklemore was playing that. Boy, there's a name. Macklemore was playing.
Yeah. One hit wonder.
Wonder whatever happened to him.
I don't know.
Now
I wonder if he still has that fur coat.
Oh gosh!
From the whatever video, the thrift store video.
Yeah, if he's still popping tags.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if he is, I'm sure he's getting a good bargain.
Yeah. Hopefully.
That's right, because our buddy Big D was still with KDWB at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was. Where did he go?
He is currently, boy, where did he go? He went big. He's in Nashville. He won a CMA last year for
I didn't know that.
Morning
Good
Show of
for
the Year.
him.
He was in town this weekend.
He was a nice guy. I liked him.
Yeah.
I'm acting like he's passed on.
No,
He is a nice guy. I shouldn't do past tense. He is a very nice guy.
Yeah, in fact, you can now find him as Wayne D. and doing the #1 morning show in country music in Nashville, Tennessee.
Good for him.
He's doing big things, Mallie.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, in fact, he came back this weekend to Minneapolis. He brought his son Griff. They went to a Twins game on Saturday. They went to the Vikings San Francisco 49er game on Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to, and I still talk to him a couple times a week. So yeah, just to keep it in touch. Just two buddies who love wrestling. We talk a lot of wrestling in life and stuff like that. We tend not to talk about work, but
right.
But yeah, he's like buddies with Jelly Roll.
Oh wow.
Yeah, go for it.
I follow his wife, Jelly Roll's wife. Was it Bunny?
Yes, yeah,
Her name?
I do
She's
too
funny.
on social media. Yeah,
I like her.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird world, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he knows a lot of famous people. It's kind of unusual, but it's not like he's, you know, Big D doesn't say to me, hey, I hung out with so and so or so and so.
Right.
He doesn't hold that.
He's still down to earth.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's pretty much just kids in football and this and that and the other, and we just talk about life. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, Mallie, we have a huge show today. Huge show, and we should probably power through this because there's a lot of UFO news this week. A lot of alien stuff going on this week. A lot of people confessing a lot of stuff this week. I think we should.
What kind of confessions? Is it like after-hour confessions?
No, this isn't like Diddy getting locked up confessions type stuff, or Usher confessions type stuff. Although I think we should call this Alien Confessions Week. No, a lot of behind the scenes government confession stuff. We'll talk about that this week. We've got some weird afterlife stuff as well this week. We've got a haunted doll story this week.
Okay.
And we'll end the day today with an odd story of a town wanting to change its name to a fictional character's name.
Okay.
And it's a beloved character, or it could be a horror movie character. I'll put it to you that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll end the day on that note. But first, let's talk about a former UFO boss, Jay Stratton, who's going to break his silence in an upcoming memoir, which could go good, could go bad, depending on which school of thought you'd like to take. The former head of the Pentagon's UFO Task Force has provided details on what will be in his new book. Stratton, who previously headed up the U.S. government's Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force, has led investigations into the subject of UFOs and alien visitation for over 16 years. Among the cases he was involved in was that of the famous Tic Tac UFO encountered by U.S. Navy fighter pilots attached to the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group back in 2004. When it was announced that he would be revealing the inside story of his work on the phenomena in a new memoir, therefore, those with a keen interest in the subject were quick to take note. We are at the beginning of a new chapter for humanity, he said. The process of disclosure is complex, but it has begun. The official press release notes that while much of his work remains classified, the memoir would be nonetheless revealing. All that can be lawfully disclosed, providing a first-hand account of the shocking discoveries, challenges, and breakthroughs that have marked the U.S. government's investigation and understanding of UAP and non-human intelligence, as well as the effects on Stratton and his family. That's the quote from the press release, interestingly enough. According to the release, Stratton is actually the highest-ranking U.S. government official to date who has chosen to step forward and reveal what has been going on behind the scenes. No actual date for the publishing of his memoir, however, has yet to be provided. With that in mind, I don't know. What do you think, Mel? We have Lou Elizondo's book that's out right now. It seemed to be all the rage at Michigan Paracon. I think everybody who was anybody had a copy of it on the plane on the way to Michigan Paracon and was reading it. And I think he's probably the next hot guest to be on everybody's show. and seems to be reading about all these different revelations in Lou Elizondo's book. It seems to be the flavor of the month is the big alien reveal as to what the government's been in bed with all these years. Mm-hmm. Jumping on the latest trend, or do you think that there's some actual things in here that Jay Stratton may be revealing?
I don't know. I mean, part of me looks at the trends. So I don't know.
I think this is probably the newest, hottest trend because we went through the Aero meetings and we got a big nothing burger out of it. We got a big, it turned out after we got a few people to step forward and say a little bit about disclosure, not a lot. I mean, we didn't get anything about abductees and we didn't get anything about alien human hybrids or anything like that. Now we're going to slowly get, government revealees, for lack of a better term. And I think they're just going to come out with their own biographies and call it a day. I think that's where it's probably going to end up.
Yeah. Because it always bothers me, like when you're watching a show or about to read an article and the headline, it grabs your attention and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to find out some answers. And then you either watch it or you read it and you're like, that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just wasted however many minutes of my life to find out really nothing new.
Well, the other thing too is reading some of these autobiographies, and literally you can read the news article on it and you've pretty much got the gist of what the autobiography is. Some of them are really good and they have some useful information. A lot of the autobiographies are pretty much, you can keep them to a press release and you've got the gist,
Yeah.
So there's that too. Our next story is actually an interesting one, in that Prince Philip, who's since left us since this news story came out, once planned to meet up with an alien named Janus. What? Not Janice as in the female name. Janus is in Janus.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah, he wasn't cheating on the queen or anything like that. I don't want to give you that idea. The late Duke, who was fascinated by the topic of alien visitors, was reportedly poised to meet up with one. Husband to the late Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, who died in 2021 at the age of 99, was believed to have had a keen interest in the UFO phenomena. Now, according to a new documentary, The King of UFOs, the prince has allegedly been involved in a plan to meet an actual extraterrestrial entity named Janus or Janus, who had previously met with his query, Sir Peter Horsley. According to director Mark Christopher Lee, the meeting was to take place in a flat in Chelsea. Horsley actually met with this Janus entity in a flat in Chelsea in 1954. He claimed that it had an ethereal, otherworldly quality and that it could read his mind and extract information about flying saucers, Lee told Metro.
Okay.
Horsley wanted Philip to meet with this Janus, as Janus had a message to give him that the world needed saving, as Philip was a man of great vision. That could be argued as well. Mm-hmm. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the meeting never actually took place. Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Philip didn't go to the meeting, as it's most likely that Janus could have been a Russian spy. I think that's probably
it.
Yeah. But Horsley stuck to his belief that Janus was not of this world. If Janus was really a Russian spy, it is likely that they were hoping to take advantage of Philip's interest in the UFO phenomenon to get access to him, perhaps to grill him for sensitive information. Chillingly, it may have even been part of an assassination attempt. The King of UFOs will be streaming from September 20th on Amazon. So there you go. If you have Amazon or Amazon Video or Prime, you can check it out starting the 20th. I may watch it because
just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I'm more of a mind to think that was a spy plot.
Right. Because who ixnayed the meeting? Was it, Prince Philip, or was it his advisors, or was it?
I got to think it was MI6. Yeah. I got to think they stopped it or stepped in and said, no.
Right.
Yeah. Because anybody really could bring anybody to the prince at any particular time and say, hey, I have somebody I want you to meet. I really do think that this is someone from another world. But, you know, they have to be vetted in the meantime before they actually get to the prince and meet him officially.
Right.
And I think at that point, you know, they have to go through some sort of a check through MI6. And I think MI6 just went, this is not cool. Just is not cool. So, yeah, I think MI6 nicks that deal pretty much. This story, and now we're going to talk a little bit in the next couple of stories about how we can find aliens out there. This has been a topic that's come up over the last year or two here, Mel. This next story says that gravitational waves could help us find or detect alien warp drive ships. Okay. If someone is out there using a Star Trek style warp drive, there may be a way for us to detect it from here on Earth. Katie Clow, Sebastian Kahn, and Tim Dietrich say, how much do we really know about what else is out there in the universe? They've written this paper together and asked that question. They say, let's take an outlandish example. If there were aliens flying around our galaxy with some sort of warp drive technology, we often see in sci-fi shows what would the signal from their ship look like. Perhaps surprisingly, our research shows we have the tools to answer this question, regardless of whether such things really exist. Telescopes that use light to probe space can now see almost to the edge of what is observable. Each new frequency we have explored, from gamma rays and X-rays to infrared and radio, has taught us something new and unexpected. In 2015, a new kind of telescope, a detector called LIGO, was turned on, not looking for light waves, but for gravitational waves, which are invisible ripples in space and time. Again, nature surprised us with a signal labeled GW150914 from a pair of black holes. Each were about 30 times the mass of our sun, merging together in a violent collision 1.4 billion light years away. Since then, gravitational waves have become a new essential tool for scholars exploring the universe, but we are still at the very beginning of our explorations. What signals might we see in the data, and will they change how we see the physics of our cosmos? There is, however, a more practical question that often gets overlooked. If something is out there, how do we recognize it? They basically say that, to shorten things up a little bit and not get too sciencey, they're saying if we take a look from warp drives to waves, there's a model of the warp drive space-time, and they can begin to answer the original question, what would a signal look like if you're looking for these warp drive signals? They say one of the cornerstones of modern gravitational wave observations, and one of its greatest achievements, is the ability to accurately predict waveforms from physical scenarios using a tool called numerical relativity. I can see people's eyes rolling back in their head. That tool is important for two reasons, because the data they get from detectors is still very noisy, which means they often have to know roughly what a signal looks like to be able to pull it out of the data stream. And second, even if a signal is so loud that it stands out above the noise, they need a model in order to interpret it, rather. That is, they need to have modeled many different types of events so that they can match the signal to its type. So they have to be able to pick it out of the ether and then say that's a warp drive, and then be able to recognize it from there. What they found is that the collapse of there's a warp drive bubble or containment field that will collapse. And perhaps there may be an explosive release. The third grader in me is starting to come out here, Mal. There's an explosive release of both exotic matter and gravitational waves when a warp drive explodes. Okay. And I'm just going to go third grade on the bit. When this happens, there's something that they can and do to stimulate using numerical relativity to figure out that that's a warp drive engine. Okay. So basically that's how they pick out these warp drives, and then a warp drive engine. So they say our work also reminds us that compared to the study of light waves, we are still at the stage of Galileo taking pictures of the universe in the narrow frequency band of visible light. They say we have a whole spectrum of gravitational wave frequencies still to explore, which will be sensitive to a range of phenomena happening across space and time. So essentially, they're looking for these gravitational waves But they believe these gravitational waves will help them find warp drives that they believe these aliens are using to get across the universe. That is, if they're physically getting across the universe.
Right.
There are others that believe that these aliens are using portals or wormholes to get across the universe. So different way of thinking, that's for sure. Meanwhile, our good friend Avi Loeb says that we should be looking for interstellar alien space trash. That's the way we should be looking for aliens, Mallie.
By their leftovers, their trash?
Yes, by looking for their trash.
Okay.
I can't wait to dig into this one. The Harvard astrophysicist believes that we may find trash from alien civilizations within the vicinity of the Earth. So we should just go looking for trash. Loeb's efforts to find evidence of intelligent alien life have certainly been raising a few eyebrows in recent years, with the Harvard astrophysicist making headline news around the world in 2023 when he attempted to retrieve pieces of an interstellar meteorite from the ocean floor that he believed may have been artificially created by an intelligent alien civilization from a distant solar system. In a recent interview with Live Science, he also described another method for finding evidence of ET. He claims scouring our immediate vicinity for interstellar technological space trash. All right. I would like to see if among the rocks that arrive into the solar system from another star, if there is any technological debris. Well, no, that would make some sense. I get that. Mm-hmm. It could be space trash, or it could be functional, but it should be easy to differentiate between rocks and something else. So if I had all the money in the world, I would establish an experimental program to monitor objects within the orbit of the Earth around the sun. Again, you got to have all the money in the world, Mallie.
Exactly. That's an expensive idea.
Yeah, it is. Loeb also suggested that more effort should be made to look for signs of life on Mars. There was some preliminary evidence that perhaps the soil on Mars has some tantalizing signatures of life that were first hinted at with the Viking mission in 1976. There are lots of things we can do which are not more difficult than were done already in the 70s. It's just a pity that NASA is not doing it. All right, there you go. Mm-hmm. So Avi Loeb says space trash, Val. Space trash.
You should do a GoFundMe.
Yes, that's right. A GoFundMe. That will get your space trash thing up and going. At the rate that GoFundMes are going these days, you'll have it in about 600 years.
Yes.
So, yeah, don't hold your breath on that one. Speaking of holding your breath, I'm going to show you a picture here. Tell me this guy didn't hold his breath a little bit when he saw that selfie, when he eventually pulled it up on his phone.
Yeah.
This guy took a selfie, the picture I'm showing Mallie, and you can see the video at darknessradioshow.com. This guy took a selfie, and when he took this selfie, there was a UFO in the background. That's what our next story is all about. A researcher captured a UFO selfie during a Brazilian encounter. The image is part of a series of photographs taken of a strange illuminated sphere-shaped object spotted over the country. News outlets this week have picked up on the case of Edie, I believe it is Mireles, a UFO researcher and author who in 2011 claimed to have photographed a spherical object in the sky over Brazil. The images, which were later posted up by Mireles on social media, were snapped on a hiking trail on the way to a remote waterfall in Chapada Diamantina National Park. I think I stuck the landing there, Mal. I got to take a sip for that.
That was a good job.
Thanks. I need some liquid refreshment after that one.
Mm-hmm. Tongue twister.
Yeah. In one image, the object, which appears dark in color but with several lights around its lower half, can be seen over Mireles' shoulder, while in another, it can be seen on its own in the sky. The case has even become associated with an alleged military presence in the area, with Mireles himself reportedly being threatened and even interrogated as a result of what he had witnessed.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
During one incident that he recalled back in 2016, he claimed to have suffered multiple injuries, including fractured ribs and a perforated lung, that had seen him end up in the hospital for almost 2 weeks. Yikes. He says, I was hospitalized for 12 days at the Chapada Regional Hospital in Cibrabá. My medical history is there for anyone who wants to investigate, he said at the time. He is also credited with writing a Reddit post about one of his encounters with a UFO. I got out of the car and photographed, he wrote. It was an indescribable, wonderful emotion to have photographed a UFO so clearly visible. About 40 minutes later, still on the road, my car turned off. I braked, tried to turn the key, and nothing, absolutely nothing. I saw a light on the road and looked up, and there was a UFO standing on top of my car. I opened the door and ran. I even stopped to take a selfie with them. Wait a minute.
Because you got to do that.
So he went to run, but he stopped to take a selfie with them.
Yeah.
The ultimate
questionable.
The ultimate in confusion. I'm afraid for my life. I think you're going to hurt me, but wait a minute. Click.
Yeah.
I need something for the gram.
Mm-hmm.
Society is so confused these days.
Mm-hmm.
My car was towed by a tractor the next day. It burned all electrical parts. So this thing took out all the electronics in your car, but you still wanted a selfie.
Right.
Yeah.
Priorities.
Well, yeah, that's true. As things stand, both Mireles' photographs and stories remain a topic of controversy and debate, with some believing that his encounters are genuine and others dismissing the whole thing as little more than a hoax. You know, okay, if he's got medical records, if he can show you the burned out car and that nothing works, if he can document everything on video, and he's got this, and he looked pretty scared in the photo, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Why would it be a hoax?
Yeah, I think it's more military.
I think so too. I think he totally came upon a military craft. I think you're right now. Yeah, I don't think it's anything from outer space at all.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next few stories have been sent in by our listeners. The first one says, scientists say wormholes are secretly altering our reality. I don't know that I like this story at all. Scientists in Greece have laid out a mathematical framework to help explain a so far unsolved gap in our understanding of how gravity scales up to the full size of our universe. Specifically, cosmologists can't yet account for how expansion of the universe increased in the recent cosmological past, a very relative term because all attempts to quantify the change so far end up clashing with existing mathematical models. What does that mean, Tim? I don't have an effing clue. Let's find out. The Greek scientists suggest something particularly squiggly, microscopic wormholes whose nature and density could fill up the missing pieces. These space-time orbes require only a bit of fine-tuning from theories that are already in the zeitgeist. In the new paper, which appears in the peer-reviewed journal Physical Review, D, from the American Physical Society, the authors explain that the positive cosmological constant meant to quantify our expanding universe has instead created math issues. I have math issues, so I don't blame the universe.
Yeah. Is it the new math or the old math? Because if it's the new math, I just don't get that.
Yeah, I don't get the new math either. I think it's probably new math. Quantum field theoretical analysis predicts a value of up to 120 orders of magnitude larger than the observed one. It's new math.
Okay.
Yeah. Or an order of magnitude is not simply a one-to-one multiplier, so 120 orders of magnitude is likely far more than 120 times larger. But if your lifetime likelihood of being struck by lightning is about 1 in 15,300, 120 times larger jumps to 1 in 127. If a train is leaving Poughkeepsie at 3:27, I always hated these math problems. If we want to balance the two possibilities, the scientists explain, we need to add at least one new complicating factor. The two main suggestions for this are a changing cosmological constant explained by the idea of dark energy, or second, to deepen our theory of how gravity behaves on the cosmic scale, from a smooth background to a craggier fjord-like complexity. Are you not following this as much as I'm not?
Dude, I'm just lucky to be alive right now.
I hear you, yeah. This paper suggests combining both options. What if a solution is a believably craggier background, gravity covered with ice stanchions and wormholes. And they're
He's
more
using big words.
I know, right? I'm having troubles just reading. Craggier in ice stanchions.
Mm-hmm.
And their more rugged landscape naturally accounts for an amount of dark energy as well. It says here, let's define some terms. It's about time. When cosmologists try to model the universe, they break it down using practices like topology and manifold theory. Oh, this is just getting deeper. I may quit this in a moment. They build in as many variables or ideas as they have at the time, leaving spaces where something is not yet known. And just like your high school calculus class, this is hurting my head. The goal is always to account for everything on both sides of any equal sign or other equivalents in your mathematical model. The physics of different scales simply don't match easily yet. Well, that makes sense. Concrete observations by Albert Einstein and those before turned into beautiful theories that account for the visible world in parts of outer space. Quantum mechanics twist those pieces until they no longer fit together in a completed puzzle. Considering space-time is as a manifold or a surface that is guided by interlocking math on a grand scale, it lets physicists look for correct new places for a particular piece of the puzzle. I tell you what, I'm going to post this article in the description of this program, and you can get confused along with us and see if you can read it and make sense of it yourself. We have one more story before we go to break, and that's this. This also came from a listener, and I think this one will be a little more understandable, and we can all laugh along with each other. You ready for this, Mallie?
Mm-hmm.
Giant bubbles appear to be coming from our galaxy's supermassive black hole.
Okay.
Giant
At least
bubbles.
it's black, not brown.
Yeah, well, but they're still giant bubbles.
Yeah.
I would think that our galaxy's supermassive black hole is probably lactose intolerant. I'm just saying. Yeah. As we search the skies with increasingly more powerful telescopes, we have discovered plenty of things that our best models of the universe have not predicted, from odd radio circles and kilos to potentially oversized galaxies in the early universe. One particularly gigantic surprise was first spotted by the eRosetta X-ray Space Telescope, a Russian and German project to map the universe in X-rays. In 2020, the telescope revealed this is an actual scientific term, ginormous structure.
I love that word.
I
use it all the time.
Yeah. A ginormous structure lying somewhere toward the center of the galaxy. The problem was that the structure, resembling a giant bubble emanating form, something was at an unknown distance. It could have been either a giant local structure at a 10 to the second power parsec scale nearby, but coincidentally in the direction of our galaxy's supermassive black hole, or an absolutely humongous 10 to the fourth power structure by Sagittarius A itself. It looks like it almost says Sagittarius ass. And they tried to bleep it.
Right.
Do we have a Sagittarius ass in space? I don't know. I don't know if we do. Sagittarius ass. That would be my rapper name.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Or,
do you remember when we were at it was one of our events, I can't remember which one it was it Estate Park, Stanley Hotel, but where Aaron Sagers, they accidentally called him Ass Ron on the program, so we all started calling him Ass Ron.
Ass Ron. Oh, you want to know the sweetest thing ever?
What?
Aaron, when we were was it when we were backstage at or was it when we were at one of the last nights of Michigan Paracon?
Mm-hmm.
He said something about being an afterthought. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, I don't think you were ever an afterthought. I think you just lowered yourself to be one of the afterthoughts.
Which was you and me.
Yeah. Which is you, me, and him. Now we have to explain what the afterthoughts was, but
yeah.
But we can keep it private. But it was basically the afterthoughts were a group we formed of people who got forgot when it was time to go to dinner. Nobody would ever give us a ride to dinner.
No, I thought it was just because I don't remember that part.
No, you don't remember that part?
No, I just thought we called ourselves the Afterthoughts because it was almost like we were background singers. Kind of, it was like
Well, yeah, we were going to
had the star.
we were going to get
and then it was
satin
you and me in the
jackets.
background.
Yeah, we were going to get satin jackets too. That was
Yeah.
the thing. Gold satin jackets. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we started photobombing people, just
Yes,
kind of like popping in their
too.
pictures.
Yeah.
Just
But the other part of it was Aaron would try to get a ride to dinner. Nobody would give him a ride to dinner, and nobody would
see,
give.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, nobody would give me a ride to dinner. So that was the start of it.
Oh.
But then we started getting forgotten in different places. So we started calling ourselves the Afterthoughts.
Oh.
That's for the.
You didn't get a ride in our murder van?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
No, nobody would ever take me to dinner anywhere.
Jeez Louise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe we just thought you were busy.
No,
were already gonna
nobody
be
ever
there.
asked.
Oh. I was always
with
with
Aaron.
Tara and Susan, so
Yeah,
we were
so
always
they-
doing the girl thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But nobody ever would take Aaron to dinner either.
Oh.
Yeah.
I took him to dinner this last time that I saw him because
Well,
he needed a ride.
Yeah, because now he's big time. See?
Didn't take him because he's big time.
Yeah, no, now he's big
I
time.
just took him because he was there.
He's Mr.
a
Hollywood.
friend.
He's Mr. Hollywood now. I mean,
Now
you
he
know,
has rubbed elbows with some big time people.
you're telling me. Now he's doing like
know.
haunted Disney tours with like
Yeah.
Norman Reedus and all these big time Hollywood celebrities and stuff.
Yeah, because he does Comic-Con. He does like
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. Yeah, no, he's done very well for himself.
He knows all these Star Wars actors and
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood actors and yeah, his podcast is blowing
He's
up.
a really nice guy.
You want to know just between you, me, and the fence post who gave him that idea for that podcast?
You? Good job. Well, I'm glad he's doing well with it. He's fun. Mm-hmm. Him and I had some crazy experiences in not Whitley City. That's Kentucky. Virginia City.
Yeah.
Investigating.
He's such a wonderful guy. He really is.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I think he started off doing things for cruises, like kind of like a travel guide kind of thing, didn't he? I think that's how he started when we first met him. He was doing that kind of stuff.
Was he?
I thought he was doing like traveling.
I seem to remember he was a journalist at the time. He was writing.
Right,
He
but-
was freelance writing.
Yeah. But I thought he was for a while, he was doing things regarding like traveling as a
He might have been.
freelance.
Yeah. He was doing a lot. I mean, he was freelancing a lot of stuff, and basically stringing it all together and making a living. But yeah, I mean, the man's a hustler. I know that. He just keeps. But yeah, always just such a sweet guy, and
He's very sweet.
yeah. So yeah, he deserves all the success in the world. I know that. Yeah.
And if anyone gets to meet him or become friends with him, they're very lucky. He's a good guy.
That's right. Absolutely. And, but yeah, I got the opportunity to tell him, dude, you were never an afterthought. You lowered yourself to our level.
The low hanging fruit.
That's right.
Hello, we're here.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the story to tell you that, but I just had to tell you that because it was just,
Aw,
it was funny.
that was so long ago.
That
Good
was,
God.
Wasn't it? That seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And when we say lifetime ago, that was what, 2008?
Yeah. 2000. I
Nine?
started with Darkness Radio 2009.
Okay, so it was 2009,
So, yeah.
2010, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But still,
So 15 years ago, we started it.
yeah. Wow. Like I said, lifetime ago. Where were we? We were talking about bubbles coming out of
Out of the black hole.
out of the black hole, right? The problem was that the structure resembling a giant bubble emanating from something. Oh, we went over the 10 to the 2 power, 10 to the 4 power, Sagittarius ass, Sag ass. That's what it was. And then we went into
That's right.
Sagittarius.
And then asked Ron, and okay.
Yeah, ass round, right.
we went off the side, and then now we're back.
Now we're back. Recent studies have made it seem much more likely that we are looking at a truly enormous structure towards the center of the galaxy, apparently striking similar to Fermi bubbles discovered by the Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope. The favorite explanation so far is that the bubbles are the result of a huge amount of energy released at the galactic center. rather than being an independent feature, the lotus petal cloud composes the northern E Rosita bubble together with the north polar spur. Considering that the two distant features span an angle of 90 degrees, the bubble composed of them should be distant and giant with a scale of a few kiloparsecs. That's how I measure my distance between the house and
what is it called? Kiloparsecs?
Kiloparsecs, yeah. In the doctor's office. One recent study published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters explains the most plausible model for such structures, a giant bubble rooted in and blown by episodes of energy release at the GC. It's fun to read sentences sometimes. As yet, we need to observe these bubbles a lot more to know the precise mechanism, but astrophysicists suggest that they were fed by exhaust vents. I bet they were. Mm-hmm. We suspected that magnetic fields are acting as the walls of the chimney and that hot gas is traveling up through them like smoke. Scott Mackey, a PhD student at the University of Chicago and lead author of a study on the subject, explained in a statement, "Now we've discovered an exhaust vent near the top of the chimney. According to that study, as a star falls into a black hole, superheated dust travels up this chimney at high speeds before exiting the vent at the top some 700 light years above the galactic center. As it travels, the gas collides with cooler gas, creating shock waves and bright X-rays picked up by Earth's telescope, or scopes, plural. The sharp boundaries of these bubbles most likely trace shocks caused by the massive injection of energy from the inner part of our galaxy into the galactic halo." Peter Pradal, first author of another study published in Nature, explained in a separate statement, "Such an explanation has been previously suggested for the Fermi bubbles, and now with the E Rosita, their full extent and morphology has become evident." I think I spoke a foreign language there. More study is needed to see the precise mechanism of these strange bubbles and what impact they have on the evolution of our galaxy and others. So there you go. Tell you what, we're going to take our break right now. When we come back, we got a little nightmare fuel for you. Just saying.
Okay.
Also, we're going to talk a little bit about life and death. We're going to talk about an organism. I said organism, Mallie, that is somewhere in between. There's a third state between life and death. Go figure. Okay. We'll also talk about out-of-body experiences and how they can lead to profound and lasting psychological transformations. That's coming up. We'll talk about a haunted doll and a not-so-great experience with it. We'll also have a story about a time traveler who's, appeared again on TikTok. I don't know why TikTok is the medium for time travelers these days, but another one has yet appeared. And the final story today has to do with a town that wants to change its name to a mythical character that could either be good or evil. At least nowadays it is, because they've made a horror movie about it. And plus we have your Parashare stories today. That's all coming up next on Supernatural News and Parashare with Tim Dennis and Mallie Fox. It's a Supernatural News Wednesday right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. Right over there is our co-hostess, Mallie Fox. Mallie, it's been hot this week, but that's okay. We like a little warm weather in September. It's beautiful outside. They used to call it Indian summer. That's not the correct term anymore. You can't call it an Indian summer. It's an indigenous summer. We'll call it that. We'll be politically correct. But it's beautiful outside. Before we got on the air today, I was out feeding the chippers. I accidentally scared Spud the other day. I got to give my chipmunk update. I didn't mean to. I came around the corner a little fast. I accidentally scared Spud. I had to make good with Spud today, this morning. We had a celebratory peanut. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you yesterday. I know some people think it's weird that I'm talking to chipmunks. I've had a few people suggest maybe I need psychiatric care. but everything's good between Spud and I. By the way, I haven't told you lately that we have a new baby.
You didn't tell me.
Yeah, Chili. Yeah, Chili came about midsummer.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I saw Chili the other day. Chili doesn't come out too often, but I know Chili is around because whenever I go to put seeds in the dishes, Chili will cheep at me. Chili will go, hey, like that, just to let me know that Chili's there. But Chili finally is out on his own because, the mamas kind of rear the baby chipmunks for about 6 weeks. And then they let them go on their own. So Spud kind of let Chili go out on his own. And now he's kind of under the awning of the house. I think he has like a little den under there. And so the other day I was putting seeds in the dishes and he went cheep at me, right? And I said, hey, I'm just putting seeds in the dish. I said, come on out, come get your seeds, come get your peanuts. I said, you got to come get them before the big boys do. And surprisingly, he listened to me. And he came out and got seeds and peanuts. I didn't think that worked.
Oh.
But it did. But he came out and I took little pictures of him. So I'm thinking about posting the pictures of Chili. I posted them in the chat room. The chat room thought they were very cute. But yeah, but he came out and got seeds and peanuts and he actually listened to me. It's the first time anyone's ever listened to me as an afterthought, Mallie. I thought that was kind of neat. So evidently chipmunks listen to afterthoughts. So I thought that was kind of cool. So, I said, AI doesn't like the fact that I was happy there. I guess it's time for that segment. Our first story today with AI, Mal, is the fact that ChatGPT maker says its new AI model can reason and think much like a person.
Oh boy.
So maybe we can get them to be happy about chipmunks.
There we go.
That's my first thought. We go to London where OpenAI has unveiled a new artificial intelligence model that says it can reason and solve harder problems in science, coding, and math than its predecessors. The model, the first in a series called OpenAI 01, was released Thursday as a preview, with the firm saying it expects regular updates and improvements and will gradually become available to most ChatGPT users. We train these models to spend more time thinking through problems before they respond, much like a person would, the maker of ChatGPT said on its website. Through training, they will learn to refine their thinking process, try different strategies, and recognize their mistakes. And then
people don't do that.
No, they don't.
A lot of people don't recognize their mistakes. That's why they keep doing it over and over again.
That's right. You're right, Mallie. And eventually they'll get violent, like most people do, when you try to correct them, and then they'll take over the earth. Just saying. As examples of the new model's power, OpenAI noted that they can be used by healthcare researchers to annotate cell sequencing data and by physicists to generate complicated mathematical formulas needed for quantum optics. The potential of the new AI models was also highlighted by Noam Brown, a research scientist at the company. OpenAI's 01 thinks for seconds, but we aim for future versions to think for hours, days, even weeks. Oh, good. That's what we need. Machines thinking for weeks. Inference costs will be higher, he posted on X on Thursday, referring to the costs such as higher energy bills of using AI to make inferences from inputs. But what cost would you pay for a new cancer drug, for breakthrough batteries? He added. Oh, boy. More expense. That sounds good. AI's massive thirst for energy was due to be discussed Thursday between senior White House officials and top U.S. tech executives. Sam Altman, OpenAI CEO, Google senior executive Ruth Porat, and Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei were expected to attend the meeting. A person familiar with the matter told CNN. Although the technology may help solve thorny problems like cancer and the climate crisis, it poses equally complex challenges, including how to meet the significant demand for electricity required by advanced AI systems, which could worsen global warming. The new OpenAI model doesn't yet have many of the features that make ChatGPT useful, the firm said, like browsing the web for information and uploading files and images. But for complex reasoning tasks, this is a significant advancement, it went on to say. There you go. Meanwhile, you may soon be able to hold hands with a loved one who lives thousands of miles away.
Okay. That's interesting.
I can see where this technology is going. I don't know if I like it. Experts say a person in London would be able to hold the hand of a dying relative in Australia, for example, and the tech would also be used for people losing their sense of touch. People could hold hands with a loved one thousands of miles away with a new gizmo. The soft fingertip device gives authentic feelings of touch, people say. It works by stimulating all 4 touch receptors in the human finger using vibrations at different speeds and strengths. The team behind the gadget, called a Bio-Inspired Haptic, or BAM, system, reckon that they can create a glove which can recreate the feeling of holding a hand. Professor Haig Werderman of the University College London, who worked on the device, said, "We believe we have the technology that would enable us to design a glove. We're looking into combining multiple fingers. We want to understand that if we can detect over some time the degradation in touch sensitivity, and then we want to feed that data back to the clinician to then understand if they can maybe adopt their therapy in order to slow down the loss in touch perception." Dr. Sarah Abad from University College London added, "Unfortunately, with video calls, there's a barrier. For social bonding, which is important, you need touch, but video calls don't provide that. The technology offers a way of incorporating touch into our virtual social interactions and can also act as a diagnostic tool for touch perception for patients who experience sensitivity loss. Experts say a person in London would be able to hold the hand of a dying relative in Australia, for example. The tech could be used for people losing their sense of touch, such as those with metacarpal tunnel syndrome or diabetes. And it may be used to tell the difference between healthy and cancerous tissue, according to the findings published in the journal Nature Communications." So, Mallie, do you, as a paranormal investigator, see where this could be abused?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but there's just something about the human touch. And I don't like how we're starting to replace all of these things.
Yeah. There's only so much artificial that could be replaced for natural,
Yes.
I get that you want to be able to bilocate or be able to do things from across country, but there's just some things you need to show up for in person.
Yes, I agree 100%.
You just need to make exceptions. I mean, the bilocating is good in some respects. I'll give an example. There was an event that we were at where I just couldn't get away and make it to my uncle's funeral, my Uncle Wally. I had asked my cousins if it was okay that one of my relatives were able to FaceTime and if I were able to sit in on the service that way. And I sat in my hotel room and watched the service, which is a wonderful thing to do. I sat on mute. They muted their phone. Or not muted their phone. I muted my phone so that there was no background noise or anything like that. Because I wanted to be there, but at the same time, I had a professional obligation. And it was just one of those things where, I thought about canceling and being there for the funeral, but then I had family telling me, well, Uncle Wally's not here, hon. And he was the type that would say, well, go to work. What are you going to do here? There's nothing you can do here but have lunch. right? And he worked for Washburn McGreevy Funeral Chapel. And he had worked with grieving families. And he would say that, well, if you take time to grieve me, and grieve in your own way, well, you've done your job, right? You've done that. You've gone through the process. So to take that time out in my hotel room and observe the way I needed to observe and be with family, and they all jumped on the FaceTime and said hi to me and thanked me for at least being there the way I needed to be there. It gave me the chance to connect, right? So that's where bilocating is a good thing. Unless there's some sort of circumstance where you absolutely can't do it, maybe it's financial, I don't know, where you can't necessarily get across the world to Australia to be with a dying loved one. I get that. I don't know what this technology does.
Right.
I could see where maybe it comes in handy every once in a while. I could see where, in a medical sense, being a diabetic with neuropathy, trying to bring back that sense of touch and coming up with a glove that would help with a sense of touch. I get that. I get using the technology for that. But I don't... To use it for something like that, I just see it being used for porn and nefarious purposes, like, touch your mother's hand from the other side, type stuff, and just nefarious, scams.
Well, and think about how we've become more antisocial after, quarantine. And if you have this availability, then you might choose this over actually physically going to see the loved one or the, person. And I mean, I understand their point of view, but at the same time, I feel like we're getting farther and farther away from connecting with others.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It does. It feels like we are separating ourselves and we're getting behind our devices more and more. We're not facing each other.
Yeah, because you always see comments when they do those throwback like 80s videos where kids are in school, and you've got this generation saying, "Oh, it looks like they had so much fun, less stress," and then you have people that lived in the 80s and they're like, "Oh yeah, it was a great time," because when you watch the videos, we weren't on our cell phones. Well, we didn't have cell phones. We weren't on our computers. So we weren't on our, you know what I mean? There's interaction.
Yeah,
and you see that on those home videos of the life of a 11th grader or 12th grader or whatever, those little short videos that they've been posting all over social media.
Yeah. And there was a kind of a little off topic, but not really. There was a study that came out this past week that said, what was it? The Surgeon General is now putting out a warning of sorts about parental stress and how parental stress is one of the new things. I don't know if you're going to put a warning label on a child. I don't know what you're going to do, but parental stress
may cause harm.
It may cause harm to your body. I don't know, but parental stress is now one of the big things that's damaging your health. Well, and that parents supposedly have more now on them than ever before. Well, I was talking with intern Yoko about this. I said, well, you know why? Because when we were kids, parents ignored us.
Oh, God, yes. They didn't even know where we were. Yeah. We could be dead, and they would be like, oh, as long as we're home by nighttime, when the street light goes on.
Right. And that was the whole thing. There was a time where they ignored us and let us play. And now there's such helicoptering going on.
Yes.
And they're hovering over children. And it was the perfect example was played in this story where the mother on there said, oh God, the only time I can get away is when I put a screen in front of them, which to me was like, okay, so if I have to be around them constantly and mother them unless I neglect them and put a screen in front of them. And I thought, well, that's not healthy either.
Yeah.
I mean, you can trust them to go out in the backyard and play.
Right. Oh, my mom was like, if it's nice out, you're outside. You are not in this home.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't lock the door and keep us out.
Right. There's a healthy balance between
Yeah.
letting them play and go out and play and bringing them inside and parenting.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've lost perspective, I think, as a society as to what's healthy for parenting and what healthy boundaries are. Right? It's gotten to be a little much.
Yeah.
So I think we're bringing too much. So we don't know ourselves what's healthy screen time, and putting boundaries between ourselves as far as screens go, and what's healthy in-person time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's bizarre. And I'm saying that doing a podcast. So go figure. I don't know. So let's wrap that story up with that. There's this interesting story that came out about organisms created in a laboratory that are in a third state, Mallie, beyond life and death, according to scientists.
Okay.
I didn't know there was a third state beyond life and death.
I didn't know that either.
Right. This third state challenges how scientists typically understand cell behavior. Now, the way the story goes, over the past several years, scientists have repeatedly demonstrated that cells of various organisms can be repurposed into biological robots, representing stunning advancements in the field of synthetic biology. Some types, like I'm going to have a hard time saying this, anthrobots, used human cells that could self-assemble into small hairy structures capable of moving by themselves. Others, like xenobots, are a bit freakier. Scientists created these from the cells of already dead frogs. Of course, poor frogs, which seemingly cheated death by remaining capable of performing simple tasks and even self-replication. Now, in a new review published by the journal Physiology, researchers are contemplating the implications of taking cells from organisms dead or alive and essentially turning them into machines with totally new functions. This sounds like Frankenstein technology,
Yeah, it
doesn't
does.
it? Yeah. Namely, that this points into a biological third state, one that doesn't neatly fit into the categories of life and death. The third state challenges how scientists typically understand cell behavior. Biologists Peter Noble and Alex Pojitkoff, co-authors of the review, wrote in an essay for The Conversation. It's the fact that the biobots develop new functions that truly set them apart, because there are a few instances where organisms change in ways that are not predetermined, the researchers write. While other transformations, like caterpillars metamorphosizing into butterflies, are radical, they're still part of a predetermined biological path. Cancer cells are also excluded because they don't exhibit new functions either. But here's how the biobots are different. Though the aforementioned anthrobots, for example, were taken from human lung cells, they were somehow able to repair damaged neuron cells placed nearby in a petri dish, which they were able to move on to their own using writhing hair-like projections called cilia. The anthrobots weren't engineered or programmed to do this. They just did it on their own.
Well, that's I don't know. Doing it on their own without being programmed to do it, that's a little bit weird.
Yeah, it's part of the function of the human body, though. The xenobots also developed cilia-based mobility, which is novel because in the frog cells they were derived from, the cilia are used to move mucus, not the cells themselves, according to the researchers. The xenobots are also capable of self-replicating without growing or essentially repairing themselves. Taken together, these findings demonstrate the inherent plasticity of cellular systems and challenge the idea that cells and organisms can evolve only in predetermined ways. Noble and Pajitkoff wrote, the third state suggests that organismal death may play a significant role in how life transforms over time. Both types of biobots last no more than 60 days and safely biodegrade once they're dead. But it's unclear how those repurposed cells are able to live so long after their organism dies, the researchers said. We also don't know the extent of their ability to develop new functions post-mortem. This all sounds very spooky, but the medical and therapeutic possibilities that could be unlocked by exploring those questions could be game-changing. Anthrobots created from human patients' own cells could be programmed to repair damaged ones, deliver drugs, or weed out cancerous growths. A better understanding of how some cells continue to function and metamorphose into multicellular entities sometime after an organism's demise hold promise for advancing personalized and preventative medicines, the researchers conclude. It's an interesting deal, but again, they did say about 60 days after the host dies, so do these cells. So it's an interesting thought that they're not truly alive on their own. They don't have any power source of their own.
Mm-hmm.
But if you find a power source for them, they could continue. Speaking of, let's switch to a different related topic, and then we'll get into Parashare for this week.
Mm-hmm.
Out-of-body experiences can lead to profound and lasting psychological transformations, according to new research. A new study from the University of Virginia School of Medicine says that out-of-body experiences, like near-death experiences, can lead to profound psychological transformations, including increases in empathy and emotional connectivity. The findings, recently published in Neuroscience and Biobehavioral Reviews, suggest that altered states of consciousness transform how people connect with others, fostering greater compassion and understanding. Empathy is a fundamental aspect of human interaction that allows individuals to connect deeply with others, fostering trust and understanding. That, according to Dr. Marina Weiler, who is a neuroscientist with UVA's Division of Perceptual Studies and lead author. That was said in a statement. The exploration, refinement, and applications of methods to enhance empathy in individuals, whether through OBE, out-of-body experience, related ego dissolution, or other approaches, is an exciting avenue with potentially profound implications for individuals and society at large. Out-of-body experiences are often described as extraordinary events where individuals perceive themselves as existing outside their physical bodies, experiencing a sense of floating or observing themselves from an external perspective. The phenomena can be triggered by various factors such as sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and psychedelic substances, or can occur spontaneously during life-threatening situations or near-death experiences. Out-of-body experiences are often linked to supernatural, religious, or spiritual phenomena. However, they are recognized within the scientific community, where cognitive science and psychology view them as dissociative events resulting from various psychological and neurological factors. In this recent study, Dr. Weiler and a team of researchers from UVA's Division of Perceptual Studies delved into the psychological and neurological mechanisms behind out-of-body experiences and the potential for them to transform people's emotional landscapes. According to researchers, the key to understanding the transformational potential of out-of-body experiences lies in the concept of ego dissolution. In this state, the sense of self becomes less distinct, allowing individuals to feel a deeper connection to the world around them. We propose that OBEs might engender those profound changes through the process of ego dissolution, researchers explained. Ego dissolution fosters a sense of unity and interconnectedness with others. These sensations of interconnectedness can persist beyond the experience itself. Researchers suggest that specific brain regions may mediate the link between out-of-body experiences and heightened empathy. The study points to the involvement of the temporoparietal junction and the default mode network, both of which play essential roles in self-perception and social cognition. These brain areas are believed to help process the feelings of disembodiment and the delusion of ego, or disillusion of ego, creating a space where the individual feels a deep connection with others. Previous research has shown that the temporoparietal junction is involved in tasks requiring empathy, such as understanding others' emotions or perspectives. When this region is activated during an out-of-body experience, it may enhance an individual's ability to connect with others' feelings, ultimately promoting more compassionate behavior. The default mode network, on the other hand, is often active when the brain is at rest and is involved in self-referential thoughts. During OBEs, the activity within this network might be altered, leading to a reduction in self-focused thinking and an increase in feelings of oneness with the world around them. I knew I'd get that part out there, Mallie, eventually. Researchers observed that participants who had undergone OBEs often felt their sense of identity expand beyond the confines of their own bodies. This sensation is often described as more real than reality, a feeling that persists even after the experience ends, potentially leading to longer-lasting changes in personality and behavior. The researchers cite numerous personal accounts that illustrate the transformative powers of OBE. One woman described her experience as being surrounded by 100% unconditional love and feeling deeply connected to everyone and everything around her. She said, "In an instant, I became part of the universe. I felt connected to everything, connected to everyone. I was completely surrounded by 100% unconditional love. I've never felt that before. I didn't want to leave." The experiencer recounted, "I realized at that moment that where I had been was our true home, not here, not on the earth plane. This is a place where we come to have experiences, to grow, to learn how to show love. Then we go back home." Other personal accounts describe similar encounters with out-of-body experiences profoundly affecting one's perspective on life and instilling a deep sense of empathy and compassion towards others. These personal stories are consistent with the study's findings that OBEs can lead to a sustained increase in pro-social behaviors, such as empathy, tolerance, and peaceful relationships. In fact, researchers report that 55% of individuals who had an out-of-body experience reported that the experience profoundly changed their lives, and 71% described it as having a lasting benefit. The transformative potentials of OBEs is not limited to personal growth. Dr. Weiler and her colleagues suggest that understanding these experiences could provide valuable insights into promoting empathy on a broader societal level. The findings also open up new avenues for research into the therapeutic applications of OBEs. By understanding the neural correlates of these experiences, scientists might be able to help develop novel methods to enhance empathy, even in individuals who have never had an out-of-body experience. This could be particularly valuable in mental health treatment, social work, or conflict resolution contexts. However, the researchers caution that much remains to be understood about out-of-body experiences and their effects on empathy. While the findings are promising, more studies are needed to explore the extent of these effects and the psychological and neurobiological mechanisms involved. So there you go. Interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Our next story. You know what? And before we go to our next story, which is about a haunted doll, I want to get to some Parashare stories because we have two here. We're going to continue this week a little bit about. There's one gentleman who's been sending us his UFO experiences, and he sent us a few different stories. So I think we'll read his Parashare. By the way, if you have a Parashare experience that you want to send to us, you can do it one of three ways. You can send in your Parashare experience to tim@darknessradio.com. That's the easiest way to do it. Just type out your email, and we'll read it here on the show. Second way of doing it is to go to darknessradioshow.com. There's a blue button on the right-hand side. Click on that blue button. You have 2 minutes to leave your voice note. If you need more than 2 minutes, rinse and repeat. Click that blue button again. Do another 2-minute voice note, continuing your story. I'll stitch your story together. We'll play your voice note here on the show. Third way, if you have a lovely studio like the one you're seeing me on, if you're watching the video on darknessradioshow.com, make your own theater of the mind. Voice, music, sound effects. I'll screen it to make sure it's playable. And we'll air it here on the show. So this comes from Craig Rhodes. Craig has put together a few different stories for us having to do with his paranormal experiences. And we had talked about different alien experiences he had had. He had talked about an alien that he had run into. If you remember right, he had an alien experience when he was very young. And then he was out with his friend in a tent, the last story that we had talked about. This third one, the second UFO encounter, this was it. The time was the late 70s, early 80s. While in Pensacola, we saw lights in the sky all the time, but that was not unusual. In Pensacola, home of the famous Blue Angels, is where the Navy trains its pilots. It's worth noting that supposedly there were 13 or more military bases in or around Pensacola. My grandparents were members of Grand Lagoon Yacht Club, despite not owning a single boat. Hey, if you can become a member, why not?
Exactly.
Yeah. They also bought my mom a membership, and that is where we would sail our 2 sunfish sailboats. The adults used the club as a social drinking club. We would spend every weekend there. During the day, we kids would crab and fish or sail on our boats. Sometimes we would go out fishing or sailing on other people's larger boats. At night, the adults would be inside eating and drinking. All the kids would have to find things to do until the adults were ready to leave. See, that was 70s and 80s parenting right there at its best.
Yeah. You kids go to the large body of water as we drink in a different area.
Learn to swim, kids.
Yep, exactly.
That's right. We would swim or sit on the pier, but mostly we would walk for miles down the shoreline just talking and acting like kids. On the night in question, the fog was so thick you could barely see more than a couple of feet ahead of us. Luckily, we kids knew those beaches like the back of our hands. As we walked the beaches, we started hearing a very low humming noise behind us. As we looked behind us, we saw a large glowing orange light following us. It was out over the water, but close to shore. It's funny how kids will be kids. The older kids weren't afraid, but we were using it to scare the little kids. We noticed that when we stopped, it stopped. When we walked, it followed. We could not see the actual craft as the fog was too dense, but it had a saucer-shaped glow, and it appeared to be pulsing slowly. And that's the tale for today, the second UFO encounter. You know what? I'm going to read the second one from Craig here. It's called The Grim Reaper from 1986. I'm going to give you a 2 from Craig here today.
Twofer.
A twofer. The year was 1986. I was a young single engineer and had taken my grandfather's advice and bought my first house in an Atlanta, Georgia suburb. It was a tri-level house, and the master bedroom was on the top floor with a large bay window looking out to the backyard. Being a young single guy, I had sheets over my windows on the lower floors and nothing over my windows upstairs. Well, you're getting a bit of a show then, aren't you, Craig? On the morning of October 30th, 1986, as the morning light was starting to come into my room, I was just too snug and comfortable in my king-size waterbed. Ooh, a waterbed.
Fancy.
Yeah. To get up. And after all, I didn't need to get up for work for a while yet. I closed my eyes, and at some point, I felt a presence. I opened my eyes, and to my horror, I saw what I can only describe as the black hooded robed figure of Grim Reaper minus the scythe. Yikes. He says, I tried to scream, sit up, and throw my arms up, but I was paralyzed. The screams echoed, but only in my head. The only thing I could do was move my eyes. The next thing I knew, my essence, my life force, my soul, whatever you want to call it, was literally sucked out of my body. My essence started traveling at mind-boggling speeds above the treetops. It was like watching a flying video on extreme fast forward. I was not aware of a body, only my essence. I don't know how long this lasted, as I was very disoriented about what the hell was going on. Suddenly, I came to a screeching halt. I was above my uncle's trailer down in the Florida Keys. I was scared and confused. I just kept hearing a voice that repeated, death, 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 over and over. At some point, I realized that my uncle must be dead. Now that I had made that realization, the high speed flying started again, and suddenly my essence felt like it was slammed back into my body. At that moment, all the things I tried to do upon seeing the Grim Reaper happened. The scream came out vocally. I sat up and my arms started flailing, and the Grim Reaper was gone. After I eventually composed myself, I called my mother and told her what had happened. It took a while since my uncle was It took a while since my uncle had been living on his own since my aunt's death and he had no phone. We eventually got a sheriff to do a welfare check and he reported back to us that my uncle had died on October 30th. Yeah. There is a second part to the Grim Reaper story. Do I dare?
It's up to you.
I
Or
might
do you save it?
I might read the second part to the Grim Reaper story and put my other Parashare story for next week.
There you go.
Let's do that because I got a second Parashare story, but I might hold on to that for next week. I think I'll do that. Let's do the second Grim Reaper story here. Now, this Grim Reaper appearance did not, again, this is from Craig. Now, this Grim Reaper appearance did not happen to me, but my childhood friend, Mike. In 1989, I got married for the first time. One day, I was talking to my new wife, and the subject of paranormal came up. Since we were having weird things happening at our new house that we bought together, I told her all of my stories, and she acted like she believed me. But I could tell she didn't quite believe me 100% yet. I had a chance to go back to Chesapeake for business, and my wife decided she wanted to come and ask me to look up my childhood friend and try to set up a meeting with him. I had not spoken to Mike in many years. We just kind of fell out of touch, as many people do. My sister was able to get his number from his sister, and a meeting was set up. As we arrived, my wife instructed me not to say anything about my experiences, but to let her ask him questions. I guess you can see why my marriage to her didn't last. I see. All right. After initial introductions, my wife simply said, Craig has told me an interesting event that happened to you both. Without missing a step, Mike said, you mean the UFO? He recounted the event from his point of view, and except for minor things, which you would expect from two different eyewitnesses, the overall story was the same. He too could not remember ever getting up from crawling to being on our feet, facing and running away. My wife then made an observation that when we both sat down, he and I both made sure that our backs were to a wall and that we could see all windows and doors. She had noticed that I did this everywhere we went and found it weird, especially now that he was doing it too. Like me, he said he had been that way ever since that night. We both also said that we always felt like we were being watched and followed since that night. It was then that Mike stunned both my wife and me and said, did I tell you about my Grim Reaper visit? We were both all ears at that point. He proceeded to tell us that one night after I had moved away, he was startled awake by the feeling of a presence. As he opened his eyes, he was scared by the sight of the Grim Reaper standing over his bed. Like me, he tried to scream, sit up, and throw his arms up, but he felt himself paralyzed except for his eyes. His screams only echoed in his head, but not outward. Now here is where it was different from my experience. In his case, he said he could see two small grays by his far outside wall wobbling towards his bed like weebles. If that were not terrifying enough, he said the Grim Reaper was extending a long, crookedly gray finger from his robe and moving it towards his forehead. Mike was screaming his head off, but it was only in his head. Right when the finger was about to reach him, his mother got up and went to the bathroom. Mike said that the Grim Reaper and the Greys just shot through the outer wall of his bedroom. The moment they were gone, just like it did for me, all the reactions like sitting up and throwing his arms up, and the now vocal screaming came out. His mom came running, but she didn't know how to confront him. Or comfort him. Not confront him, but comfort him. Interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And that's all from Craig. So the other Parashare I had, I'll save for next week.
Perfect.
There you go. Interesting stuff. So with that, we'll jump back into our news here. And I do have a story about a haunted doll. We haven't had a good haunted doll story in a while. Let's see if this is good.
Mm-hmm.
I can't attest that it's a good haunted doll story. Just that it's a haunted doll story. With that, a man finds a creepy doll under property. What happened next left him astounded. A man got the fright of his life after uncovering a creepy doll under an abandoned house, and that has a rather unexpected effect on his life. Kerry Walton from Warwick, Queensland, couldn't believe his eyes when he pulled the doll out of the dirt believing it had been stashed away under there for about 200 years. A 200-year-old haunted doll.
Yeah.
He named the doll Let Me Out and discovered it had Romani roots. Carrie believes it was used by travelers to predict the future. Although this has not been confirmed, in a 2002 interview, he said, "It has frightened me. It put the wind right up me. After I settled down a bit and realized what it was, I thought, that's a nice find." But while a picture of the doll has been circulating on social media in recent days due to its creepy appearance, it turns out it has brought Carrie nothing but good luck. In a Reddit post, one user shared a photograph of Let Me Out sitting upright on a chair with its distinct eyebrows, nose, and creepy smile in full view. In response, one user said, "Should have left it there. People need to realize you don't have to take random stuff home." Another user added, "I would not have let it into my house." A third user said, "It was left there for a reason. I don't even want to leave this comment." I'll show you a picture here in a moment here, Mallie. One more user added, "Are you being haunted now? However, since welcoming Let Me Out into his home, Carrie's antique collection has skyrocketed in price. He cashed in on this and went on to buy a house on a luxury estate on the outskirts of Brisbane."
Wow.
I guess that is good luck, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Carrie added, "We were broke all the time with no money at all. Then the doll, turned up and things started to change. Following this, Carrie made the doll an honorary family member, vowing never to sell him. He has since created the doll an Instagram page where he posts updates about the impact it has had on his life." However, unconvinced by the doll's good luck, another Reddit user said, "So when does filming start for the horror movie?" One more added, "I've seen this movie. Some things are better left alone." A third user said, "I would punch it and burn it and dance around it while it melts."
I like how they say punch it.
Yeah, like punching it is going to do anything. Let me show you a picture of this thing.
They chose violence that day.
Yes, I chose violence that day. I'm trying to think of who this doll looks like. You remember the actor Dudley Moore?
Yeah. Ooh. That reminds me of those, like in the 60s when they used to have those puppet show, like the puppets, but they would create a show using puppets.
Yeah, yeah. This actually looks a little bit like, you remember the puppets from Mr. Rogers?
Yeah.
Do you remember Lady Fairlane?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Looks a little
was
like
creepy looking.
Yeah, looks a little like Lady Fairlane.
Yeah. It's just a brunette this time around.
Yeah.
Huh.
Doesn't look
Well,
bad.
I say if it brings me luck and it brings me a house on an estate, I'm all for it.
Yeah, right? I'm going to go steal that doll.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to steal me that doll.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. Our next story has to do with two mountain hikers photographing a mysterious humanoid in Colorado. The human-like shape was spotted far up a cliffside in Long Peaks Rocky Mountains National Park. I think we've both been there. I mean, around there.
Yeah, I think we have.
Yeah. When Jesse Clausen and Camille Avarella took dozens of photographs while trekking through the Rocky Mountains on a recent trip, the last thing they expected was to end up on the local news. That's exactly what happened, however, after they got home and started looking through their photos. In one of the images, they spotted a peculiar figure that seemed to be climbing up one of the rock faces. Based on the scale, it seemed to be around 20 feet tall and had elongated arms and legs. Keen to find the answers, they posted the image on a Facebook group for a second opinion. It wasn't long before a journalist had picked up on the story. Before they knew it, the photograph, along with the story of how they captured it, was being featured on the news. So what exactly was it that they captured on camera? Well, in reality, the humanoid is most likely a case of pareidolia, the brain's innate ability to perceive meaningful shapes and abstract patterns. In this case, the shape of the figure is likely the result of a chance rock formation illuminated by the sun. I tell you what, there's a news report that goes along with it. We'll post it in the description of this program, and you can see it for yourself. Next story, we've only got, I believe, 2 more stories left in today's show. Has to do with a time traveler. Says he's coming back from 2671 to warn of 5 danger events yet this year. Mal?
Oh, jeez.
It's going to be a quick year, I guess, right? Mm-hmm. A self-proclaimed time traveler from the year 2671 has uploaded a TikTok video where he tells of 5 dramatic events that will happen this year, which include finding out about when we will die. A TikToker claims to be a time traveler from 2671. 5 dramatic events. Here we go. Eno Alaric, who is known as @Radiant Time Traveler on TikTok, has gained more than 900,000 followers for posting about supposed future events. The social media user has previously issued warnings about twin planets colliding with the Earth, alien visitors, and even the start of World War III. In his latest post is no less dramatic, where he tells of 5 events that are going to take place before the end of the year, where he included the comment, "Wild events to come in 2024. He began by saying, "Many of you still don't believe I'm a real time traveler. So remember these 5 events to come in the first months, or final months rather, of 2024. Then his first bizarre claim is that giraffes the size of skyscrapers and other oversized animals will be found in Australia, with an image of a monkey along with the text. He stated that this will happen as soon as next week on September 20th. Writing, large versions of 70 different types of animals are found in a hidden part of Australia. This includes 3-foot spiders, 6-foot butterflies, and even giraffes as tall as skyscrapers. So remember that one, Mel.
Mm-hmm.
He followed
September 20th.
September 20th. Big giant animals, Australia. He followed that up by suggesting on October 23rd, we'll learn about our own mortality due to an energy emitted from the sun. Eno states that the sun lets out a rare and unknown type of energy that allows people to see how they pass. This happens to millions of people every day for about 3 months. Some will learn they never pass and have immortality. You may be immortal, Mallie. You'll find that out from this energy.
Ooh,
from
Lordy.
the sun.
I feel bad for everybody else.
Yep, that's right. Mallie's going to live forever. You other suckers are going any day now. Mm-hmm. Eno also takes a look at the celebrity world and said that on October 25th, a musician will return who we all think is dead. Prince is coming back.
Or Elvis.
Or Elvis. I'm calling
They think
it.
that one guy's Elvis.
That's true. That is true.
I forget his name.
A very famous celebrity comes out and reveals he faked his own passing. He was known as a legend. It's Tupac. And will be the most famous person on earth when he returns to making music, he stated.
So why doesn't he give us the name? If he knows it, just give it to us.
Because he's a fake.
Well, yeah. And he wants people to live in fear.
Yeah. He then ends with 2 more events, which are the most worrying, as he claims that the sun will disappear for a week. Then an alien artifact will be found that lets off a disease with no cure. Oh, nice.
Yay!
Yay. As if one pandemic this century wasn't enough.
Exactly. At least give us the location so we can make sure we're safe.
Right. On November 9th, the sun disappears for a week straight, causing the world to go into its first purge, he stated. November 12th, an alien artifact is found buried beneath the ice in Antarctica. It contains... Okay. There you go.
We're safe now.
It's Antarctica. Yeah. It contains a mysterious disease. It spreads quickly through the world. It has no cure. So you're not safe anywhere.
Can't drink that glacier ice water anymore.
That's right. That's what starts it. It's the glacier ice water. So stay away from glacier ice water, kids.
Yep.
You'll be safe. So there you go. That's the nice TikTok. Now, by the way, if this guy is wrong, this @Radiant Time Traveler, shell this guy. Just troll this guy to no end.
But he'll still get hits, which means he'll still make money. You know what I mean? Because people will be sending other people like, check out this guy. And so he'll be getting hits on his videos and then he'll be making lots of money.
Well, shell him once and then ghost him.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Just give him the business and then be done with him, right? All right, our final story today, Mal. This is how we're going to wrap up Supernatural News and Parashare today. Huge mystery as someone tries to rename a village after Winnie the Pooh. Now, I said he was a good character.
I was thinking you were going to say Winnie the Pooh, but then you were like, well, it's it could be an evil thing. And I'm like, evil?
Right, because there was there was a horror movie that came out about Winnie the Pooh, remember?
No, I don't.
You don't remember that? Yeah, there's a horror movie that came out about Winnie the Pooh.
Okay. But yeah, no, I thought about Winnie the Pooh when you first was talking about it.
Yep. Residents of a quiet village in England were perplexed to receive letters from an anonymous sender. The peculiar mystery centered on Dorchester-on-Thames in Oxfordshire, a village that had long been associated with A. Milne's popular honey-eating bear and has even been the venue for the World Pooh Sticks Championships, a game played by Winnie the Pooh and his friends. When villagers started receiving mysterious letters from someone who said that they were going to change the name of the village to Pooh Village. However, things got a little bit weird.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good. Pooh Village.
Yeah, Pooh Village.
Yeah.
If you ever have a problem with the septic system, I mean, it's all over, right? The anonymous sender stated that there would be a secret nighttime guerrilla rebranding of the entire place sometime toward the end of the year, a process that would involve, among other things, mounting large Winnie the Pooh logos on entry arches over the road in and out of the village. The sender suggested that this would turn the place into the UK's answer to Disneyland. I remain confident, too, that the villagers will be transformed from sticks stuck in the mud to sticks freely floating upon the honeyed waters of progress, they wrote. Someone's living in dreamland.
Yeah.
Unsurprisingly, local residents were less than enthusiastic about having their home turned into a Winnie the Pooh theme park, especially without being consulted about it first. The local council responded to the situation with a somewhat tongue-in-cheek response of its own. We would not condone a Gorilla Pooh rebranding of the village, and the letter writer must bear in mind that their proposals would need to be laid out in full and may trigger the need for consents first, officials wrote, while adding that the whole thing was a great spoof. As things stand, the identity of the individual remains a complete mystery. So there you go. That's how we end Supernatural News today.
Okay.
No Pooh Village yet.
Yeah, that could just go horribly wrong.
It could, yeah. And there's never been a Pee-Pee Village either. That would be right next door. Separated by a taint road. So I'm just saying. There you go. So Mallie, what's going on at paranormalgirl.com?
Well, to be honest, nothing much yet. I've just been traveling, gathering up some information. I've got some ideas, but now I just have to put it on paper, I guess you would say.
You had some new designs at Michigan Paracon. Are they up on the website?
I did. I actually sold out of a lot of the stuff.
Did you?
But which is good. But what I do have, I finally took my inventory and stuff. I just have to post it. I haven't been home. I've been traveling and stuff, so I haven't sat down to do it.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I've got a few things left over. I got some zip-up hoodies that are really cute. And then trying to think what else I have. Not very much left, which is good. It's a good thing.
That's right. And we can still see you occasionally on Strange Evidence, right? On repeats of
you can see me on
Evidence.
Strange Evidence. And I think my goal is to start attending more events this year.
Right on. I think that's
instead of hibernating.
Yeah, that's on all our plates here in 2020, end of 2024, beginning of 2025. So we'll keep up with you and figure out where Mallie's going to be here.
Please do.
So there you go. And of course, this isn't the last time you're going to be on the show or anything like that.
No. So this summer, what had happened was, my mother, family emergency. So I was in Minnesota for like a month. And then came back, and then it was like balls to the walls with the kids, and just, because they're getting older, so all their sports and their socializing and all that stuff. So it just had me busy. Mm-hmm. And then the event and everything. And then I've been getting more into my family background history. So I've been traveling and stuff. Just was in Tennessee for like 4 days. Just came back last night. So just
there you go.
Just busy. So now school's in session, so I should be more available for the podcast.
Because I had one of these, I had a few of these in emails and chat rooms and stuff like this.
Yeah.
First Bruiser quit, now Mallie quit, and I was like, nobody quit. No one's quit the show.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I've got a 14 and a 12-year-old, so Yeah, they come first.
So I had to say, relax, kids, relax. Mallie will be back.
I'm more of a taxi service right now than anything else.
I just said that Mallie just needed some time off. She'll be back. Don't worry about it.
No, my timing was just off. The summer was wonky. It was just wonky.
Yeah. So we'll definitely Mallie will be back.
I will be back. I promise.
Mallie will be back. There you go. So there it is. So tomorrow on the big program, Nancy Thames will be with us. Nancy Thames has an interesting story. What that story is, well, let's just put it this way. Nancy has not only had a run-in with aliens, she's been abducted by them. But she has an interesting message after being abducted by them. What that message is, well, you're going to have to tune in tomorrow and find out.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's on the big program tomorrow. Nancy Thames will be here to tell us what exactly these aliens have to say. I'm intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
I always find abduction stories interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But she's had multiple abductions. And let's put it this way. Everybody has their own experiences when they're abducted by aliens.
Mm-hmm.
This is a different abduction story.
Okay.
So tune in tomorrow to find out what's going on with Nancy Thames and these alien abductions. That's on tomorrow's Darkness Radio.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that'll do it for today. For Mallie Fox, and thank you, Mallie, for toughing it out today. I mean, it's a...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No.
100%.
No, you were a warrior today, and I appreciate it. I really do appreciate
my pleasure.
it. So thank you so much.
It's always my pleasure.
Thank you so much. So for Mallie Fox, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much, folks, for continuing to tune into the show. If you like what you hear, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a phone. No, that's not right. But tell somebody about the show, please. And we will see you tomorrow for Nancy Thames right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio.